Well, you know what is important? The Second Amendment. And here comes that one under fire here in Manchester, New Hampshire, where a story comes from the UnionLeader.com. Quote, Manchester police officer Robert Bifsha stopped a man on a bicycle riding without a headlight at 12:43 a.m., so just after midnight on Wednesday, at Pearl and Bridge Streets. That was this past Wednesday. Bifsha said Benjamin Hops, age 30, of Manchester, was initially evasive in responding to his questions, but consented to a search of his backpack. Uh-oh. You never want to consent to a search, Benjamin. You should know better than that, especially if you move to New Hampshire for more freedom. Uh-oh, Manchester police officer finds a gun in a cyclist's backpack. And it turns out he's a Free Stater. Oh, man, he should have known better. All right, let's figure out what's going on here. So, Bifsha is the name of this officer. And he said that Benjamin Hops, age 30, of Manchester, was initially evasive in responding to his questions. I can imagine a Free Stater would be, am I obligated to answer your questions? You know, under what obligation am I? Am I free to go? Am I being detained? Questions like this. Questions police normally don't get, but probably pretty used to from the Free Staters. So, which are, by the way, I forgot to mention, Free Staters are people who have moved to New Hampshire for more freedom as part of the Free State Project. You can learn more about that at freestateproject.org. The idea is to have 20,000 liberty-loving people all move to the same geographic location and then get active for freedom so that we can achieve it in our lifetimes. That's the goal, that's the project, that's what's happening. And I'm here as a part of that. So is Benjamin. We don't know each other, but I'm reading this story about him from the UnionLeader.com. So as Bifsha began unzipping his first compartment, Hops said there was a handgun in the backpack. Well, because Hops didn't have a concealed carry permit for the loaded handgun, he was charged with carrying a firearm without a license. Hops was released on $1,000 personal recognizance bail and scheduled for arraignment September 24th in Circuit Court, Manchester District Division. So that's going to be the lower level court. It's a small slap on the wrist here in New Hampshire. I think the fine is something like $40, and that's it if he's found guilty. Now, of course, he's going to resist this. I'm sure he's going to plead not guilty, and that there's going to be a whole trial about all this. If it were me, I would make them work for that $40 if they're going to get it anyway. But this all comes down to a stupid specific rule. So over the water in Vermont, the neighbor to New Hampshire, there is no concealed carry I mean, there might be a permit there that you can get if you want one, but you don't need one. The Constitution is your carry permit, they say. It's constitutional carry, meaning your right to bear arms shall not be infringed. Now, there's lots of other places that say, we don't really care what you say. We're going to infringe on your freedom to carry anyway. A place like Live Free or Die, New Hampshire, is one of those places because they have a shall issue permit for their guns, for their concealed carry license. I was recently denied a concealed carry license. So it's not so easy to get in a shall issue state, and one of the fears is that they're going to target activists about this issue because they know activists like me like to carry guns to defend ourselves. Makes us a target for law enforcement if you don't follow their little rules, fill out their little piece of paper, pay the little $10. So it's just picking on him. So the issue was apparently, well, we'll learn about this, what's in this article, but it says in the law that a handgun, you could carry one in your backpack in New Hampshire if you wanted to, if you just took the magazine out. So the magazine is the thing that holds all the bullets. If your gun is unloaded, you can have it with you anywhere concealed. So if I don't have a concealed carry license right now, but if I were to take the magazine out of my gun, make sure it's unloaded, and stick the magazine in my pocket and the gun in my pocket, well, because the magazine isn't in the gun, it is not loaded, so it's not a loaded concealed weapon. Pretty simple. I know it's a little confusing, but If there is a bullet in the chamber, that gun is loaded. If there's a bullet in the magazine, that gun is loaded, according to the police. So, all right, almost 3 hours later, at 4:38 a.m., while Bifsha was conducting a hotspot patrol on the west side, patrolling an area where there have been multiple thefts from vehicles in the past, a man suddenly appeared between two parked vehicles behind 76 Notre Dame Ave. Bifsha reported that when he approached the man and ordered him to stop, Brian Malcolm, age 30 of Manchester, initially refused to stop. When Malcolm did, said Bifsha, he flashed a knife, possibly 9 inches in length. Malcolm was throwing the knife from hand to hand, but finally responded to Bifsha's order to put it down. But then, Malcolm brandished a beer bottle. Bifsha said Malcolm dropped the bottle as soon as he was ordered to do so, but Malcolm wasn't done. He pulled a baseball out of his pocket and began to walk away. When Malcolm finally responded to the order to stop, he put down the baseball, and Bifsha said he took him to the ground, where the two men struggled, with Malcolm refusing to pull his right hand out from under his belly so Bifsha could handcuff him. Bifsha finally was able to get a hold of Malcolm's right hand and handcuffed him. Bifsha then found a second knife under Malcolm's coat. Malcolm was charged with 2 counts of resisting arrest and 1 of prowling, and was released on $1,000 personal recognizance bail, scheduled for arraignment September 9th in circuit court. So what does this tell you? A man who's noticeably, visibly violent, tossing a knife from hand to hand, a bottle, a baseball, weapons. A man who's displaying weapons and prowling around gets the same bail as a guy who's got his headlight out on his bicycle, is found with a gun that he admits to having, and he gets his arraignment 3 weeks sooner, or what's that, about 2 weeks sooner. 2 weeks sooner than the other guy. So, I mean, this is like crazy that the person who's more violent gets, just as much bail, and he is able to get arraignment even quicker, 2 weeks faster. So he gets access to justice faster for committing a crime, even later at night, in a more dangerous way. It just really irks me how backwards justice is.